Good evening. Mazal Tov to Mishpachat Kaziev for the Hanukat Habayit that we do here tonight. It's very important when you move into a new house to start in a positive way, and what can be more positive than Torah? So to make it perfect, the next hour, please put your phone on silence, and the topic that we chose to speak about tonight is one of the most important topics. As you know, if you review the Jewish world, there are about 14 million people, 14 million Jews in the world. 7.5 billion people live in this world, and only 14 million Jews. If people can put the phones off, because there's so many people here, it will not stop ringing. So 7.5 billion people, only 14 million Jews, meaning we are 0.25%, approximately. 99.8% of the people in the world are not Jewish, and 0.25% is Jewish. And everybody knows that if you look in the world, nobody speaks, no nation is been spoken about more like the Jewish people. Everywhere you go, history, science, medicine, religion, art, a lot of things, the Jewish people dominate the world. The Gentiles don't deny it. They even call us the chosen people. And in Israel, we are called Am HaSefer. Who made us this name, Am HaSefer, the nation of the book? Believe it or not, Muhammad, the Navi of the Muslims, he called us Am HaSefer, the nation of the book, meaning the nation that taught the world everything that they know. I don't have to tell you how the world would look without the Jewish people. If you use your imagination, it will be something that cannot be even imagined. But the question that we have right now is only one question and one answer, and that's the topic for tonight, because it's the most important thing. If I will ask you today, up to 220 years ago, almost all the Jewish people in the world, almost all of them were religious. Almost everybody, all over the world, all over the countries. But today, maybe 20% of the Jewish people are religious. Maybe 20%, not even. But let's say 20%. It means that the vast majority of the Jewish people obviously are not religious. Most of them are not even connected a little bit to their religion, to Torah, to mitzvot, to Shabbat, to Brit Milah, to Mezuzah, to Jewish holidays. There are many Jews in the world don't even have an idea what it is. The question that I have for you is, what do you think happened in the last 220 years that had such a revolution in the Jewish world? What do you think happened? If until 220 years ago, every country you went, there were communities of Jewish people, they all live in ghettos, meaning isolated from the Goyim. The Jews live together in their own places, and the leader of each community was the rabbis. And all the Jewish people, their school was yeshivot. There was no such thing going to non-religious schools or to going to non-Jewish schools. There's no such thing. All the Jewish people in all the communities lived 100% by their religion. The shul was the center of the community. The rabbi was the leader. Everything, the court, if two people had a delegation or a problem, they had to go to the Jewish Beit Din. There's no such thing going to a non-religious court or non-Jewish court. The Jewish people had their own life. It started in Egypt, when Jacob went to Egypt with his family, and Pharaoh gave them the land of Goshen, and all the Jewish people lived there for a while, and then they started to move to Egypt. Once they moved into Egypt, the problems began. When the Egyptians saw that there are Jews everywhere, they started to get panic and say soon there will be a war, and they join our enemy and they take over Egypt from inside. We cannot trust them. They are not the citizens of the land, they are only guests here. The Jews, by the way, always been guests and will always remain guests, even if the 5 generations in America, the American people would look at the Jewish people as strangers. Doesn't matter how American you are, you can be a judge in a Supreme Court. In the mind of the Goyim, the Jewish people don't belong here. Sometimes they let us stay, sometimes they go after us, as history taught us. But the Jewish people will never actually be the citizen of the land. Not in Spain, not in Europe, not in America, not in Turkey, not in Portugal, not in Egypt, not in Iran. So what happened with Iran? As soon as Khomeini came, all the Jewish people had to run away. Same thing in Libya. Everywhere the Jews lived was X amount of time. And then one day they had to run away or they were just got killed. So the question that I have, and this is where I'm going to start my speech, it won't be so long. I brought you also CDs. You can grab some CDs. If you want more CDs, I have more in a car. Free of charge, you can collect the CDs before you leave. Very interesting CDs that will teach you a lot about life. But besides the CDs, my question is to every one of you tonight, what do you think happened in the last 7, 8 generations that slowly, all the Jewish people started to become more and more like the Goyim? They left their religion, they changed their names, the way they dress, and their education, and the schools that they're sending their children to. And the worst thing is they started to marry everybody. Until 220 years ago, it was very, very difficult to find Jewish people that are married to non-Jews. But today, 70% in the United States are marrying not Jewish people. 70% in the United States. Some countries in Europe, it's more than 80%. And now even in Israel, they say that 60,000 Jewish girls married Arabs. In Israel, 60,000 Jewish women married Arabs, which many of them are actually terrorists in the Hamas. And they've been married to them, and they give birth to Jewish babies, and these Jewish babies join the Hamas and join Israel and kill Israeli soldiers every day, which just happened today. That they killed a soldier and few of them got wounded inside Gaza. And as you can see, it's not going anywhere. The problem only gets worse. So the question that I have is, what happened to the Jewish people in the last 220 years? Anyone knows the answer to this question? Assimilation, but how assimilation starts? If you go to a very Hasidic neighborhood and you speak to the little Yiddish kids and you tell them, I want you to marry this Christine from Germany, he'll think you're crazy. It's not an option for him. What are you talking about? It's not an option. But if you go to a kid in Manhattan from a very liberal family, he's going to say, of course, my parents told me always just marry someone that is good and educated. The religion has nothing to do with that. We don't care. So the question is, what really happened to the Jewish people that they started to get assimilated? It's called in Hebrew itbolelut. What happened? The answer is, Rabotai, you'll be surprised that until 220 years ago, the Jewish people never ever dared to mix with the Goyim, with the Gentiles. They never went to their schools. There was no such an option. But 220 years ago in Europe, there was a rabbi, Orthodox rabbi. His name was Moshe Mendelssohn, or Moses Mendelssohn. He decided to go to college. What happened when a rabbi that learned all his life in yeshiva decided to go to a college in Europe when everybody there is not Jewish? Within 10 years, all his sons met German women. They all got married to Goyot and they converted to Christianity. All his children. Within 10 years, from the minute he entered the college, this was the end of his family. All his children got married to non-Jewish women, and all his grandchildren are not Jewish. Similar to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, he hates Israel very much. He's a Jew-hater Jew. Jews that hate Jews. Anti-Semite Jew that made sure that all his children will marry Goyim and all his grandchildren are all not Jewish. And the President of the United States, almost all his grandchildren are Jewish. So everything is the opposite in this world. Yeah, because his daughter converted to Judaism and his son married to a Jewish woman. Technically, all his grandchildren are Jewish. Very interesting what happened here. So the answer, Rabotai, is once the Jewish people was accepted into the society of the Goyim, and they started to go into their colleges and schools and get into the business world, after a few generations, close to 80% of the Jewish people left the religion. Now the question that I have, how long do you think it takes to prove that the Torah of the Jewish people is 100% divine? That a person could never write such a book, only the creator of the world was able to write such a book. Not beliefs. I'm not talking about believing. Believing, it's nothing. I'm talking 100% proof that you have no doubt, just like you know it's outside, it's dark, you know, you don't believe. If I ask you, what is it outside, day or night? Everybody knows that it's night. Nobody here would say, I believe it's night. If you say, I believe it's night, I would assume you just woke up after 20 hours of sleep because you don't know what's going on outside. But if you say, I know it's night, that means you know, you saw it. How long does it take to prove that our Torah is 100% the truth of the creator of the world? And it's designed in such a way that if you live by the Torah, the day you die, you're going to a place that we call heaven, and you stay there for eternity of pleasure of the soul. For eternity. Billions, trillions of years. It will never end. And if you ignore the Torah, and you live the way you want to live, or the way the Goyim wants to live, you're going to pay a huge, very heavy, tremendous price, what we call in English punishment. How long does it take to prove such a thing? If I don't prove, forget about it. It's like this lecture never took place. I'm talking 100% proof that you have no doubt, not even a little doubt. How long does it take to prove? If you're very, very, very foolish, no common sense, 1 hour. If you're clever, maximum 10 minutes. Wow. 10 minutes. If you're clever, after 2 proofs, you get the point. How long does it take to prove that Christianity, it's all nonsense? It was never given by God. How long? If you're clever, 3 minutes. If not, 10 minutes. But it's a matter of minutes. How long does it take to prove that Quran and Islam, it's also not from God? Same thing, few minutes. Why? Let's start from the end to the beginning. To prove that a book is not from God, it's very, very easy. Because all you have to do is to show one human error in the book. If you show one human error, one mistake, then you know this book is not from God, because God doesn't make human errors, right? If I go to a math exam and I get 80, why? Because I failed in 20% of the questions. Because I'm human, people make mistakes. I can make mistakes in direction, I can make mistakes in choices that I make in my life, I can make a lot of mistakes. Mistake with money, mistake with calculation, there's a lot of mistakes that people make. But if you are God, and you made such a world, and you made the brains of the people, and everything, and all the animals, and the galaxies, and everything work precise by the second. If one thing will move an inch, left or right, 1%, the whole creation will go in a massive disaster. So this kind of creation, obviously, it's not something simple. It's the most sophisticated thing we can know. Just the brain of the human being has 10 trillion connections. 10 trillion connections. Just in case you don't understand, you have 7.5 billion people in the world. Over a billion people have WhatsApp. Over 2-3 billion people in the world have cell phones in the whole world. And then landline. And then internet. There's unlimited amount of wires and connection. All of that combined doesn't come to 1% of a brain of one person. One brain, which is the size of an apple, is already 100 times greater than the entire telecommunication system in the whole world. Internet, phone, cell phone, satellite, everything together is now 1% of one Kurdish guy. I guess only the Israelis got the joke. In America, you say one Polish guy. Okay. Anyway, take the dumbest guy in the world, 1% of his brain, that's the whole world. Everything, cell phones, connection, computers, that's 1% of one guy. But we have 7.5 billion people and 2 million different species of animals, trillions of animals. Monkeys also have brains. Lions also have brains. Crocodiles, snakes, everyone have brains, eyes. This whole thing was created by someone. That someone doesn't make mistakes like me and you. So the point is like this. If you open a book and the book say, I'm the God that gave you this book, like the Quran. Muhammad come and say, I'm the prophet. Angel Gabriel saw me in the desert and he gave me the Quran. How long does it take to prove that the Quran is, like they say in English, Boba Mises? How do you know? All you have to do is to find 1 or 2 mistakes and you know, that's not the word of God. I'll give you an example. In the Quran it says that there was a very important meeting between Haman and Paro. How the Arabs know about Haman and Paro? Because they read it in the Torah of the Jewish people, which was 2,000 years before the Quran. The Arabs do not deny that the Torah of the Jews was not given by God. The Christians do not deny. The only one that denies that the Torah of the Jewish people is from God are Jews. Christians and Muslims never dare to deny such thing. Go to the churches, ask them who gave the Jews the Torah. They all say, Mount Sinai, God gave them the Torah. It's in our book. It's written in our New Testament. It's written in our Quran that Allah took you out of Egypt and brought you to the promised land. And we follow Ibrahim, your father, our father. We follow Yaakov. In the Hamas website, it says, Israel, peace be on him. They're talking about our father, Yaakov Avinu, in the Hamas website. I saw it in my own eyes. So the Arabs don't deny it, and the Christians don't deny it. It's right there, 4 billion people. So now the question is like this. It's written in the Quran that Haman and Paro met, but the last Paro was 900 years before Haman was born, because Haman was in Persia, close to Bukhara, you know, and Paro was in Egypt. It was very far from Iran to Egypt. Plus, it's 900 years difference. Maybe they met in hell, but in this world they never met. Paro and Haman could never meet. In the Quran it's written that they met how to stop the God of the Jews. And they decided to make a tower and go and fight him, similar to the story of the Babylonian tower. But the problem is that the one who wrote the Quran was so ignorant that he did not know that the Megillat Esther is almost 1,000 years after the Torah was finished. And he took Haman from Megillat Esther and Paro from the Torah and fake a conversation between them. I'll give you 1 second mistake. According to the Quran, there was a person named JC. You know JC? Not JC Penny. JC, the one that the Christian worship. JC. Now JC lived 2,000 years ago. What was the name of his mother? Mary. What was the name of his father? Joseph. No, but God. Depend how you follow. Okay, so anyway, it was 2,000 years ago. Now, according to the Quran, who is the uncle of JC? According to the Quran. Who is his uncle? You won't believe it. A religion of 2 billion people that ready to destroy the world, and in 1 second you can prove right away it can never be from God. Never. Who was the uncle of JC according to the Quran? Moshe Rabbeinu. According to the Quran, Moshe and Aaron are the uncles of JC. And Miriam, their sister, is his mother. They made a mistake between two Miriam. JC had a mother named Miriam, Maria, Mary, same woman, depend on the language. She lived 2,000 years ago and she married Joseph the carpenter. When they came to write the Quran 600 years after Christianity, after the New Testament, they mixed between two Miriam. Miriam, the sister of Moshe and Aaron, became Miriam, the mother of JC. So technically in the Quran, JC got righteous uncle. Moshe Rabbeinu became his uncle even though he was born 1400 years after Moshe Rabbeinu. Mistakes that little Jewish kids in kindergarten and pre-1A will not make. That shows you that the writer of the Quran had almost zero knowledge in religion. That's why he made so many mistakes. If he knew the Torah well, he would not make such silly mistakes. How about the New Testament? According to the New Testament, something very interesting is happening here. The New Testament begins with description all the way from King David, all the way to JC. They're trying to prove that JC is a grandson of King David. Why it's so important? Because in our Torah, which they accepted, they couldn't deny it. So they said that our Torah, it's part 1, the Old Testament, and their book is the New Testament, part 2, from the same God. We got very lucky. Because if the Christian will come and say, whatever you Jews had until now, it's nonsense. This is where religion starts. And they get new names, different everything, different story. It will be very difficult. It's your word against their words. But they knew they cannot deny Judaism after 1300 years that there are Jews all over the world and with books, with rabbis. To come and say that the Jews never got the Torah in Mount Sinai, it's not realistic. The whole world knows about it. Even the Goyim speaks about it. To come to say today there was no September 11, who would take you serious? No, there was no such thing, September 11. It was a movie. Come on, 3,000 people died. The whole Manhattan was on fire. No, it never happened. Nobody would take you serious. So what happened? So they say, yeah, of course, you got the Torah. But what happened? They trying to link JC to King David. Why? Because in our Torah it say, Mashiach ben David. Mashiach, the son of King David. It has to be from the family of King David. Otherwise, he can never be the Messiah. But there's only one problem. After they try to link JC all the way, his father Joseph, all the way to King David, they made a big mistake. Right there they wrote that Joseph is not his father. Why? God made his mother pregnant, not Joseph. So why did you waste a whole page to prove that Joseph is a linking to King David when right after that you said that Joseph is not the father, he was out of town? Mistake of kindergarten level, 5 years old. According to the New Testament, Jacob went to Egypt with 75 people, but in the Torah it says 70. What happened to God? He forgot? God forgot what happened? How many Jews went to Egypt? But there are a lot of other mistakes. I give you an example. One day JC was walking and he was hungry. JC of Nazareth. He was hungry. So he lived in the Galilee. So he looked for something to eat. And he saw on a mountain a tree. What kind of a tree? Fig tree. Figs. So he decided to go with the student all the way on a mountain to eat figs. Figs, not to die, I'm hungry. When he arrived to the tree, he saw that the tree is empty, no fruits. It wasn't the season. So there's no figs in Israel when it's not the season. So JC saw there's no figs, he kicked the tree. And he cursed the tree, you should never give fruits again. This story, it's to people that are brainless. people that have no brain can follow such a story. Why? In one hand, you come and say that he's God or the Son of God. What kind of a God is this that is hungry? Number one. Number two, what kind of a God doesn't know if the tree has fruits or not? And what kind of God cursed the tree if the tree doesn't give fruits in a season? God told the trees, 6 months of the year you give fruits, and the other 6 months there's no fruit. So why are you cursing the tree? This is stories, like I said, that if you analyze the New Testament, the Christianity, excuse my language, is the biggest joke in history. It's so dumb that you cannot believe how people with a tie and briefcase that work in Wall Street or in law firms follow such nonsense. If you watch my debate that I made with a Christian professor, you will see right away. No wonder every Christian who watch it right away leaves Christianity. Include some priests, and some churches got closed. They closed the church. Why? They came to the conclusion they're wasting their time. Why? Because after they saw so many mistakes over there, they realized that's not from God. But our Torah, nobody ever found one mistake. And no one will ever find a mistake. Now I'll give you a few examples. The Torah speaks about many prophecies. What will happen in 1,000 years, in 2,000 years, in 3,000 years. If the Torah was given by a human being, do you know any human being that can write the entire future in a book? Do you know? You know what's going to happen tomorrow afternoon? Nobody knows. We don't even know if we'll be alive tomorrow morning. So we don't know the future. If I'll show you in the Torah at least minimum 200 prophecies from the top of my head, much more. But from what I remember, almost in every chapter you open, I'll show you right there prophecies. Now, prophecies, it's not something that it's probable. For instance, I can also give you a prophecy. In 20 years from now, in August 10, in 20 years from now, there will be more than 10,000 yellow cabs on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. That's not a prophecy. Every day it happens. Most likely it will happen in 20 years. Olam keminago noeg. That's not a prophecy. Prophecy, it's something that there was no way to know. If I come and say to you, United States, we have a special missile that can go all the way from here to the sun. Maybe the people in NASA already told me that they're working on such a missile. So it will take 10 years. That's not a prophecy. You know what a prophecy is? That I come today and I say to you in 20 years from now, in August 10, between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., there will be massive rain in Manhattan, but the rain will be pink. Not regular clear water. It's going to be pink water. And you wait 20 years, and the date came, and at 2 p.m., pink rain begins to fall. Now you know retroactive that I was a prophet, because otherwise how did I know such thing? Okay? Now if I tell you 1,000 prophecies like this, 1,000 things similar to this, the more prophecies I give you, the more you know that I have divine abilities that other people don't have. That's one thing. Second, if I give you a book, if a person fake a book, he claims that he's a prophet and he gives you a book. God gave me this book to give it to you. And then you ask, how do I know this book is from God? And I say, if you read the book, you see that the book has knowledge that only the creator of the world was able to know. Nobody was able to know about the number of the stars in the world 3,300 years ago. Today we have satellites and all kinds of mega computers, so we are able to know. But 3,300 years ago, nobody knew the number of the stars in the world. Nobody was able to give you information about 72% of the world that it's water. Because there's no person who can watch 72% of the water in the world. 72% of the world is water. And it's very, very deep. And there are trillions of things moving in rivers and lakes. Who would be able to write promises about all the water in the world unless he's the one who created all the water and all the fish? Let me give you two examples. The Gemara says that the nation of Israel, after the destruction of the second temple, they were very depressed. And they came to God and said, dear God, a person get remarried and he doesn't forget his ex-wife. If you come to him and say, hey, Moshe, remember Miriam? Who? Your ex-wife. I've never been married. What are you talking about? It doesn't usually happen. Usually you have nightmare from her after 30 years. So after 10 years, for sure he remembers. So the nation of Israel came to God and say, if a person get remarried, he still remember his ex-wife. So how come you forgot about us and left us in the hand of the Goyim? And the Gemara say that God answered, I created 12 sections in universe. And in each section, I created 30 armies. And in each army, I created 30 legion. And in each legion, I created 30 raton. And in each raton, I created 30 karatons. And in each karaton, I created 30 gisteras. And in each gistera, I hung 365,000 stars multiplied by 10,000. And all of that I created for you, the nation of Israel. And you have the nerve to tell me that I forgot about you and neglected you? Now let's do the math. What is the math? 12 sections I created in universe, so we have 12. Multiplied by 30 army. 12 times 30, multiplied by 30 legion, times 30, times 30, times 30, times 30, times 365,000, times 10,000, it gives us a number of 19 digits. Very, very long number. This is the number of the stars in the world that were created by God, and this was written in a Gemara 2,000 years ago when you didn't even have a calculator. And no telescopes and no satellite, and everyone who would look up to the sky can maximum see 6,000 stars. That's it. You can't see more. Today we have, like I say, satellites and computers who count. It will take us billions of years to count such number. But today we have technology that we didn't have 3,000 years ago. But in a Gemara, it was written that there are much more stars than what we can see. And if you watch my film right here, Torah and Science, you see that I show over there a research by NASA in 1990. 1990. It's only 30 years ago. And what happened over there? Professor Vidal say that there are 19 digits of stars in the world. Now, we don't care so much what they say. Why? Because they don't have the ability to count the exact number of the stars. Why? Because every time they count, all the galaxies are in a move. So they move constantly. So every time they count, they come with a different number. So one time they say this number, tomorrow they're going to say 200 million more, and the next day 200 million less. We don't really care. We only care one thing. Who was able to write in the Torah such a number? Because to write such a number back then, you had to be super crazy. People would think, Meshuggah, you're crazy. Well, where you got these numbers from? Don't you see there's only 6,000 stars? This is one example. Another example is, the Gemara say the Jewish people are allowed to eat everything that lives in the water in one condition. That it have fins and scales. Now if you go to Chinatown, you see over there a lot of fish. You want to know which one is kosher, which one is not. How are you going to know? The Chinese guy doesn't know what kosher means. You don't need him. You pick up a piece of fish. If you see scales on it and you see fins, it's kosher. The Gemara say, which is the oral Torah, that Moshe Rabbeinu got in Mount Sinai together with the written Torah, the Gemara say, this pasuk in the Torah that said this is what you're allowed to eat in the water, everything that have fins and scales you're allowed to eat. In the oral Torah that explains the written Torah, it's written like this. Everything that have scales must have fins, always. Species that have fins don't necessarily have to have scales, like shark, dolphin. They can have smooth body. They have fins, but they have a smooth body, no problem. But if you saw scales in the body of something that lives in the water, you know for sure there were fins as well. So if you go to Chinatown and you see half a fish, not the whole fish, you don't see the fins. He cut them out. You see scales. You see two scales over there. Oh, here scales, those white ones, the round ones that fall off. You see scales on the skin, it's kosher. But where are the fins? You don't need to look for them. For sure this fish had fins. Why? Because the Torah promised, if it has scales, I made all of them with fins. You will never find one without it. Now remember, this was written 3,300 years ago. There was no submarine. There was no way to check inside the water what lives, what does not live. 72% of the world is water. And half of the things that lives in the water today did not even exist. All the time they mix together and create new species. And the Torah promised, if you find one time something that has scales and did not have fins, that's the end of the Torah, the end of Judaism, the end of Yom Kippur, the end of everything. Why? Because then you know God made mistake. God doesn't make mistakes. If you find one mistake in a book, it's not from God. 3,300 years, we already know more than 40,000 different kind of fish. And there are millions of things that lives in the water. So many stars, turtles, all kinds of things. Nobody ever found one thing that has scales and does not have fins. Now remember, in some museums and some scientists, they always mix together different kinds of fish. They mix together to create new species. If they will create one thing that has scales and does not have fins, that's the end of the Torah. Now what human being will take such a risk? If I want to give a book pretending I'm a prophet, how can I take such a risk? First of all, I don't know what lives in the water. I don't know. I cannot watch the entire world simultaneously and see what's there and what's not there. So all it's going to be, another year or two, someone will find something like this and they put my book in the toilet. So what's the point of writing it? Why do I put myself in such a jeopardy? Second, if this is a book of God, why you have to prove to me that you are the creator of the world? It's a matter of faith and that's it. Judaism, it's not faith. Christianity is 100% faith. You want to believe it? It's up to you. But you can never prove it. Every time you speak to a priest, he will tell you spiritual things cannot be proven. Same thing the Muslim will tell you. But we say the exact opposite. We say spiritual things can be proven 100%. And I say 1,000,000%. How do I know? I tell you. When God said to Moshe, go and get the Jewish people out of Egypt. It's written in the Torah, in Sefer Shemot. Moshe said to God, there's no point. Anyway, no one would believe me. No one would believe me that you spoke to me. I'm going to come to the Jewish people walking in slavery and say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your savior. Attention, please. God sent me to save you. At best case scenario, they take rocks and throw at my head. Get out of here, you and your nonsense. Who has patience for you now? So Moshe said to God, Ve'em lo ya'aminu li. And Hashem said to him, of course, they're right. Why should they believe you? You have to be dumb to believe such thing. Every 2 seconds, someone come and say, he's the Messiah, he's God, he's a prophet. So we're going to believe him? No. The reason they're going to believe you is because I will bring you into the mountain and I will speak to you in front of them. I will nominate you to be the prophet. And after that, they will believe in you for eternity. That's what's written in the written Torah. וגם בך יאמינו לעולם. When? Only after they will hear that I speak to you and to no one else. And what comes right after that? Moshe gathered all of them to Mount Sinai and they heard the first 2 commandments. What's written in the Torah? They say to Moshe, please stop it. We are very panicking. We're afraid. We cannot take this fear. You go up to the mountain, speak to this God. Everything he will say to you, we're going to follow. But please make him not, we cannot hear him anymore. And Moshe answered to them, don't worry, he's not here to hurt you. He's here to test you. Will you be faithful to him and follow him or not? This is written all in Sefer Shmot. Now I want to ask you a question. If I came here tonight, Baruch Hashem, Bli Ayin Hara, so many people came, and I decided to fool all of you. I bought a book. I take it out of my bag. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you something very important. Yes, last night, God came to me. He found me somewhere in a mountain. I was walking alone. A light came down. And all of a sudden, this wonderful book was put in my hand, and I heard, you from now on is the prophet. Go to my people and teach them what my book is. And here I am today. I gather all of you here together, and I'm going to teach you the book of God, and all of you must listen to me. Don't dare to go against this book, because you don't have a problem with me, you have a problem with God. Assuming you have some patience for crazy people. Assuming. Most people would right away get up and leave. But assuming you're in a good mood and you are curious to see what I have to say. Now I'm giving you my book to read. Okay? Now let me ask you a question. Listen how simple it is to prove that the Torah is from God. If I give you now the book, can I write in the book 100 lies about miracle that happened to you, knowing that none of it happened to you? Can I write in a book, I am the God of Israel that took you out of Japan and brought you here to Queens? Can I write such a thing? I can only write it there if you really were in Japan and I brought you over here. I cannot tell you such a story, because right away you will raise your hand and say, excuse me, there's a mistake right here. We've never been in Japan. So what is this? Can I come and say to you, every day I'm giving you bread falling like rain right into your door? You open the door and there's a pile of bread, delicious, you put it in your mouth, it's melting, better than hot bagels. Right away you would say, I'm sorry, I eat steaks for breakfast. I'm Bukharian, leave me alone with this nonsense. Now this, that, bagel. What is this? Did anyone saw man? No, I didn't see that. I bring you water by a well that walks with you. I put a cloud that show you the way. GPS, not made in Israel, made in heaven. Divine GPS, way before Waze. It takes you and make the road straight for you. Waze cannot do that. Waze can only tell you there's some object on the road. But this GPS not only showing the way, making the road straight for everyone to walk. It's written all in a book. Now, if Moshe come and he made up the Torah, he made it up, and he comes to millions of people, and he gives them the Torah now, and they open it up, I'm the God that took you out of Egypt. You were slaves over there, I release you, I hit the Egyptians with blood and frogs, and every firstborn died, and I split the Red Sea. Right, the way you would raise your hand, excuse me, what is this nonsense? We never been slave, we didn't see blood, we didn't see billions of frogs. And right there it says that all of you heard me and God speaking. All of you heard me and God speaking last night. Can I sell you such a story? Can I come to convince you that all of you heard me speaking to God, unless if it really happened or not? How could Moshe convince 3 million people that all of them heard him and God speaking? And it's written in a book that all of them started to scream and to cry and they didn't want to hear God. When he gave them the book, they say, well, you're lying. We never told you we don't want to hear God. We never heard you speaking to God. Why all these lies written in a book? You are saying that God gave you this book. But now one detail in this book is real. It's all fairy tales. Who would agree to become Shomer Shabbat? Who would agree to cut a piece of the body of his baby? Who would agree 1 week not to drink whiskey? Who would agree to all this? Who would agree to make tefillin and pay $1,000 and to pay mezuzot $100 each? Who would agree to all these things? Who would agree with all these laws of the Torah that 80% of them are against human logic? Now, if I'm a faker and I wrote the book last night in my kitchen, I would only give you easy books, easy laws that all of you would love, and all the laws would make sense. Because if they don't make sense, it's going to give me a lot of headache. You're always going to argue with me. Why do I have to give you 613 laws? I give you 20 laws, all of them beautiful. Once a year, you give 1% of your money tzedakah to the poor people. 1% a year. Okay, we can live with that. 1 hour a year, don't eat bread. No, בסדר, big deal. What's the big deal? Anyway, every day I don't eat bread every hour. I would make you such easy law. Marry anyone, do whatever you like, eat whatever you want. What do I care? What did Moshe gain by telling don't eat shrimps, don't eat pork, don't eat camel? What does he get? What does he care what they eat? Does it help him? Does it give him anything? Everybody will hate him. But the best part is that he told them, many of you has to get divorced. Because you're married to your aunt. You're not allowed to be married to your brother or sister. Until now it was allowed. Now it's not allowed. And who is married to his aunt? Moshe's father, Amram. Married to Yocheved. So now Moshe brings a book that everybody who married to his brother, sister, the young sister, must get divorced. You cannot touch her. What did he gain by that? What does Moshe care now who would marry who? If there's a nice Goya, bring him in. Okay, I'm Jewish. You're Jewish. You're Jewish. You're Jewish. Finish. What do you need? Conversion? This. What does he care if we keep Shabbat or not? What does Moshe care if we write on Shabbat or we light a cigarette? Does he get anything from that? What did he gain? What faker will make such a book with so many strange laws when he himself does not get anything from it? Nothing comes to him. If any, people will hate him forever. Look what life you gave us. Until now we could do whatever we want. And now after you came with this book, 90% of what we used to do, we cannot do because of you. So the people will want to kill him. So all they have to do is to find few mistakes in a book, and right away they'll kill him for tricking them. And we would not even know that there was Moshe. How millions of people all agree to become religious and to keep Shabbat and to keep kasher? Do you know in Shavuot, you know what we eat? We eat dairy in Shavuot. Why we don't eat dairy in Pesach? Why we don't eat dairy on Rosh Hashanah? Why we eat dairy on Shavuot? What's the connection to Shavuot? The answer is Shavuot is the holiday that we got the Torah. We got the Torah in the month of Sivan. So now when Moshe went up to get the Torah, he prepared them for that day. What happened right after that? When they got the Torah, they just realized that all the meat they prepare for the holiday, it's not kosher. Because we kill the animals with a regular knife. And now we just found out that it's not kosher. We can't. We need a smooth knife. We have to check the lawn. We didn't do all this. So all the meat became not kosher. And there was only very short time to prepare food. You don't have time to slaughter animals now, take off the skin, put salt, until all the blood comes out, cut it to pieces. It will take you 2 days. And until you cook the meat, there's no time. So what did they do? They got milk, and with milk they made quickly all kinds of omelets, whatever they could make, and that's why we eat for 3,300 years dairy. Everything that we do has a reason. Why when someone dies, God forbid, we sit Shiva for 1 week? Where this custom came from? Why 7 days? Why not 40 days? Why not 1 day? Why not 5 hours? Why 7 days? And why we wait 30? And why we say Kaddish for 1 year? All these things. Do you ever ask yourself where this comes from? Everything that we speak about comes from the Torah. The Torah said that the soul, after he dies, is still connected to this world for 7 days. And he goes back from the grave to the house where people sit Shiva, back and forth. And for 7 days, he can still see who cries for him, who sits for him, who really cares that he died, and who doesn't care. But after 7 days, that's it. No more connection. And why we say Kaddish 1 year? Because the person, when he dies, he has a trial for 1 year. 1 year for everything he did in his life. Every Shabbat he broke, every time he ate not kosher, every time he stole, every time he hit someone, whatever he did wrong. Everything is going from minute to minute, from the minute you became bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah until the minute you die. And every second is analyzed with details. Why you did it, why you put tefillin, why you come to shul, why you come late. Everything is calculated. And then in the end, there's a verdict where to send you. If you're righteous, you go to a wonderful place. Words cannot describe the divine pleasure of the soul when a person is a tzaddik. Words cannot describe the horrible horror of a person that was wicked and lived against the rules of the Torah, meaning broke Shabbat, stole in a business, lie all days, dress not modest as a woman. All these things that the Torah is very, very strict against it. Now remember, I did not write the rules of the Torah. If it was up to me, I promise you, I would make it a lot easier. Maybe 6, 7 things to do. Yalla, 1, 2, 3. Everyone is happy, clapping for me, kissing my hand. Everyone is happy. Baruch Hashem, we're happy you are rabbis. You made it easy life for us. But it's not up to me. And when God gave the Torah, I wasn't sitting in a board of directors with him. And I did not ask my opinion. And therefore, I have nothing to say for good and nothing to say for bad because I'm not a side here. Remember, whatever I tell you, it's what's written. Now, if you have a complaint, I'll tell you what to do. You take the first plane to Israel, you go to the Western Wall, and you write a complaint. And you put it on the wall, and hopefully God will explain to you why he did it. But there's only one problem. One person that I know did it, and the next day God took him up there to explain to him why. That's not a good idea. That was a joke. All right, so let's move on. Now I'm going to speak a few more minutes about the purpose of life, and I give you time for questions. The main question in life is, why God made the world? Why he needs us here? Why God made the world? Why he put people over here? Why he put people over here? Why he sent the dog to bark behind me non-stop? All these questions that we have in life. Why? It's very interesting. I tell you why. Because usually I give weekly lectures right here in Fresh Meadow on 172nd and 73rd in Bet Eliyahu every Monday from 8 to 10. Over there, no dogs come to bark. It's a weekly lecture, mostly religious people. So they come anyway. But it's very interesting. The last lecture in this topic I gave was in Israel, in a place called Even Yehuda next to Netanya. And you can see it on the internet. For 2.5 hours, a bunch of dogs were behind the trees, non-stop barking. So the question is, why every time we take a bunch of Jews that maybe some of them are not Shomer Shabbat, some of them not dressed 100% modest, some of them maybe not 100% honest in the business, every time we gather them and we shake them up to begin to think, what am I doing? I'm destroying my own future, my own life. Right away, the Satan makes some kind of interference. Usually, until now, it was babies crying. Babies begin to cry, nobody can focus. No babies, sends the dog. Baruch Hashem. This is the way the world is. Hashem made the world. You're laughing, but you don't understand that this is 100% how it works. Hashem made the world with good and bad. There is good and there is bad. There is night, there is a day. Now, how does it work? First question we have to ask, what is the purpose of the creation? If you tell me that the purpose of creation is to enjoy life, God wanted us to enjoy life. Beautiful colors, swimming, sport, delicious steaks, sushi, vacations, nice antique Persian rugs, everyone what he likes. Then I would tell you right away, but 90% of the people in the world can only dream about these things. They're all slaves in Africa and in Nicaragua and in Philippines. They were in Saudi Arabia, in Yemen, people are starving. Most people don't even know how to read and write. Or in all the Arab countries, they live in such places, or in China. You have to see how people live. They don't even have a place to live. In India, people live on a sidewalk with rats like this. On the sidewalk with mattresses. Millions of people live on the street. No places for them to sleep. So if that's the purpose of life, to enjoy, not everyone got lucky to live in Fresh Meadow in Great Neck. Let's put it that way. So that's not the purpose. Because if the creator of the world wanted all people to enjoy, why some people enjoy and some suffer? So that's not the purpose. If the purpose was to be healthy, most of the people are sick, either physically or mentally. Almost everyone is sick. Little, sometimes it's small sickness, sometimes it's major sickness, but almost everyone is sick. So that's not the purpose. If the purpose was to be successful and rich, most people are poor. So that's not the purpose. If the purpose was to get married, to be together with your female and enjoy each other, there are millions and millions of people in every country that are not married and they never got married. So that's not the purpose. If the purpose was to have children, you would be a monkey. You don't have to be a person. Monkeys also have babies. 1, 2, 3, and they have babies. So that's not the purpose. If the purpose was to be an athlete in good shape in a gym, most people have a belly bigger than a watermelon. In America, or Hashem Yirachem, or in Israel, people like to eat. So that's not the purpose. So what's the purpose? No. Leave the Torah aside. Secular Jew. You ask him, tell me please, what are you living for? Who made you? What do you live? What's the purpose of your life? Everything that was created has a purpose. What is your purpose? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Ask a Jewish professor in Harvard, what's the purpose of life? Education. But 90% of the people in the world have no education. They cannot even afford to go to university. Not everyone has a rich father to pay $40,000 a year to university. So what is the education? Most people don't have education. Some people who never went to college are much smarter than people that went 10 years to college. In life, they are much sharper and clever. They catch things fast. They're much smarter. Maybe they're not as educated in general studies, but they're much smarter in life. You can see right away with common sense. So education is, I guess it's not the purpose. So what is the purpose? Now comes the answer. You know there are few rules in life. This is simple common sense. We're not even talking about religion yet. If there is a creation, it means there is a creator. You agree with this statement or no? This camera was made by itself or someone made and designed it? This camera. Anyone here believe that there's a chance that this camera accidentally was made by a random explosion last night in China? Huh? Maybe dynamite, fireworks started to explode and the camera came out? You believe in it or no? Okay, so nobody believes. Okay, Baruch Hashem, you're normal. Because in Harvard, they believe this. You know, the professor in Harvard, that's what they teach in the last 200 years. That's what they teach, that the world came from a random explosion. And there are many, many explosions. And somehow everything became and got connected. Beautiful. They just don't tell you that statistically there's no chance that something like this would ever happen. No chance. But they still believe, okay, it helps to sell books, I guess. So anyway, so if there is a creation, there is a creator. Now, the more sophisticated is the creation, what does it tell us about the creator? That he is more brilliant. To make a tower like this, how long you need to learn? One day, and you know how to make it. You don't have to be genius. A chair, a towel, things like this. 1-2 days training, and you know how to do it. To make a laptop, one day it's enough. You need minimum few months to learn, minimum, if not years. So the more sophisticated is the creation, the more able is the creator. Wow. We are amazed when we see a camera. Wow, look at this camera, how it films everything, and you can see it with such beautiful colors. It's unbelievable. Did you ever see a creation that does not have a purpose? Did you ever see something that was ever made in the world? Anything you want, any country in the world, in any generation, that you come to the one that made it, and you ask him, why did you make it? And he said, I don't know. Did you ever have such thing? If you come to a person that made those blinds, why did you make it? I really don't know. So you need to go to a mental institution if you don't know. Of course you know. Why did you make these blinds? To block the sun and people don't look into the house. That's the purpose of it. Why you make light bulbs? To make light. Why you made shiny, nice floor? To walk on it. Everything has a purpose. You agree? Everything. From the smallest thing, even a toothpick. It was designed in such a way that it's pointy. If it wouldn't be pointy, you don't need to even bother. It won't go into your teeth unless you are, but usually everything has. Now, what came first? First came the planning or first came the creation? What comes first? First, you plan the building, how to do it, the blueprint, bathroom here, shower there. Or first you do and then you plan? First, there's a planning. Now, what comes first? The planning or the will of your purpose? What comes first? Your will or the planning? First, the will. So the creator of the world had a will. We don't know yet what it is. He had a will. He wanted something. Based on what he wanted, he planned the world. And after he planned the world, he made the world. Now, one more question left. Did you ever see a creation that does not come with instructions how to use it or what is it for? Go to any store you want. Walmart, Macy's. Everything you buy comes with a booklet. Instructions how to use. Medicine, instruction. Furniture, instruction. Light bulb, instruction. Computer, a book like this. Car, it's thicker than the Bible. You know one person who sits and reads his Toyota manual? It's 4 years college just to understand all the combinations. Why do they bother to write such a thick book? Because it tells you everything you need to know about the car to be able to use it correctly and not to damage it. Because if you don't know how to use it, you do not get the purpose that he was made for. Now, so is it possible that the creator of the world put us over here with 2 million different kinds of animals around us, with lots of raw material, with oxygen and water and food and all kinds of things, and will never ever tell us why he made the world? Doesn't make any sense. Common sense. Remember, I'm not even talking about religion yet. I'm talking about common sense. Is it possible that the creator of the world would put millions of people to live here, billions of people, and never ever told them what's the purpose? Make sense or no? Yes? Yes? Who say yes? Who said yes?
Get up. He changed his mind.
Huh?
He changed his mind.
He said yes, but he meant no. So the answer is, shh, there's no such thing. Why? Because if you make something and you want people to use it, the minimum you have to do is to explain to them why you made it for. If you're not going to tell people what it's made for, no one will touch it. If they put something online in Amazon, and there's no explanation what it is, see, it's some kind of a box. $1,000. Okay, what is it? You don't have to know. One person will buy it? Well, in America, probably yes. But technically, a normal person will not touch it. Tell me what it is and I'll decide. Okay, it doesn't make sense that the creator of the world wouldn't tell people why he made the world for. And what are they doing here? Now comes Judaism into the picture. Until now, it was just common sense. Jew, non-Jew, every human being. Now comes the Torah. The Jews come and say, we know the answer. Not because we are brilliant and we came out with the answers on our own. No. There's no way to come with the answer on your own. We just got lucky to be the children of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And they were very good people. And the creator of the world loved them very much. And he made a treaty with them, a covenant, that he will give his book to their children and will take them to the promised land and they'll build Bet HaMikdash, as it's all described in the Torah. In the Torah, it told us what's the purpose of life. Without the Torah, there is no way to know what's the purpose. Now, I want to ask you a question. From all the secular Jews in the world, how many of them read the Torah once in their life and understand the simple meaning of the words of the Torah? Forget about the secrets, Gemara, Kabbalah, gimatriot. Forget about all the secrets. I'm talking simple understanding of the words. Just the words. How many secular people in the world you know that read the Torah and now they know what the Torah say? The answer, after 24 years of speaking to so many hundreds of thousands of people, I testify in front of you here today, not even one. In 5,000 lectures I made, I still did not meet the one secular Jew, not in Israel, not in America, not in Russia, not in Europe, anywhere. Not one secular Jew that knows what the Torah talks about. But I did meet 90% of the secular Jews that criticize the Torah and sometimes make fun of the Torah or the rabbis or the religious people non-stop every day of their life, not knowing even one page of the Torah. Now, one page of the Torah, what it talks about. Did you ever see bigger stupidity than this anywhere else in the world? Imagine me coming here today to criticize Shakespeare. I destroyed Shakespeare. I made Shakespeare so hated by you that you don't want to hear his name anymore. After I gave you 2-hour speech against him. Then one nice lady here say, you seems to know a lot about Shakespeare. Oh, it was really a lowlife. Tell me please, where did you get all these negative things about Shakespeare? From which one of his books you got all this hate to him? Well, I'll tell you the truth. I never even held a Shakespeare book in my hand. Never opened it and definitely never read it. What would happen to me and to my reputation that second? I would become the dumbest person in history. The biggest joke. In 1,000 years from now, people will still laugh at me. He came to give a speech against Shakespeare, not even knowing one page in his books what he's talking about. You want to criticize Shakespeare? You want to say it's a waste of time? You want to say it's all nonsense? At least read it once, understand the meaning, and now you can talk about something that you just read. Fair or no? So now please tell me, why 90% of the secular Jews, Persians, Bukharians, Syrians, Ashkenazim, Israelis, all kinds of Jews, it's not only one nationality, constantly speaking bad against the Torah and the rabbis and the religion, not even knowing one drop of it, what it means? Please explain to me. I never saw Jews criticizing the dictionary. Did you ever see people gathering and speaking against the dictionary? No. Did you ever see Jews speaking against Moby Dick? Moby Dick. There was a book, Moby Dick. Nobody ever made a book against a criticism against Moby Dick. You like it, buy it. You don't like it, leave me alone. I never saw people kill themselves to criticize Moby Dick. There are a million books out there. Nobody ever saw a reason to run and destroy them. There's one book everybody fights. Which one? The Torah. Let's understand together why. Why? What do you think is the answer? Why people are so afraid of religion? Because people are afraid of changes. It's very hard to change. I still know people who have phones from 15, 20 years ago, those big ones. You know, flip-flop, the screen doesn't work, it's all broken. So get WhatsApp. No, don't interfere with my everyday routine. You don't know how much you suffer. You spend so much time wasting time. No, I don't like it. Okay, get a better computer. It's very slow. No, I'm used to this. People are afraid of changes. Many people, once you tell them, go to another job, you're going to make a lot more money. But it's all different. Different secretary, different subway, different location. Oh my God, kill me. No, don't fire me. No, but you're going to make double. No, I'm good here. Why? People are not happy to have changes in their life. Very difficult. That's why a lot of people will suffer very much in their marriage. They're afraid to get divorced. And you ask them, but how long are you going to suffer? Another 20 years like this? Yeah, but what's going to be? And what's... the thought about the change scares people very much. On top of it, we have one thing in the Torah that you don't have in other books. When you read another book, it's full of nonsense, you don't have the Satan convincing you to run and fight it, because it's not a sin to find it. The Satan is an angel that God made, and his job is to make people make sins. That's his job. He's an instigator. He's convincing people to follow the bad, the negative. And the way he does it with all kinds of fleshy things and material things and all, that's his job. Every time it's a sin, you feel an attraction to it. I give you an example. They made a test. They took people in a bar, they put a camera, and they took two women, identical twins. Two very pretty women, look exactly the same, same body, same clothes even. Put them both by the bar. And people came to the bar, how are you, how are you? You know, this show in America, nice to meet you, John, yeah, Joe, yeah, okay. Now, right away, they say, speak to my sister, I'm married, she's single. 70% of the men insisted all night to go after the married one when they have the same exact twin right here available. Why in the world did they would do such thing? Forget about religion. It's the law of the land. People are married. They have to live together, no? So it's not a zoo here. There are rules, even by the secular court. Why would a person be attracted to the same face, same everything, same voice even, when this one is not available, when he has the same thing available? The answer is because there is Yetzer Hara. The evil inclination always push a person to do the worst thing possible in this scenario. And why Hashem made the world like this? That we have so much resistance and challenges. This is where the answer comes in the Torah. This is what the Torah says. And God created Adam, sent from the earth. And he blew into his nostrils a living divine soul. And Adam became alive. When he became alive, after the divine soul entered the body. The body is nothing, $3 in the lab. $3, the body of a human being, a slice of pizza. Bagel with butter. That's what you're worth. No matter how muscular you are. You're still $3. Iron, water, oxygen, all these things that you have in your body, $3 in the lab. That's it. But everybody understands a human being worth millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions. Not what the body worth, because it's all spiritual. So the Torah say a person is a body and soul. What's the purpose of being here? The Torah teach. The Torah say, I put you here in a place of a test. X amount of years, you are in a test. You are in a class now, in a test. This life, these 70, 80 years here, it's a place of a test. I'm testing you every second. If you live by my instructions, you follow the good, you do what I say to you to do, and you don't do what I warn you not to do, once you die, you will get your reward. If you ignore me and you do whatever you feels like, or whatever your common sense tells you to do, when you die, I'm gonna give you what you deserve, and I promise you it's not something good. Where does it say it? Let me read it to you. It says, Le'ma'an anotcha. I'm strict with you. What does it mean, la'anotcha? Le'anot. What does it mean, la'anot? To torture, to be strict. Le'ma'an anotcha, le'nasotcha. Why I'm strict with you? Because I'm testing you. Le'nasotcha. This is a pasuk in the Torah. Why are you testing me? למען ענותך לנסותך, לראות את אשר בלבבך. To check what's inside your heart. Will you keep my mitzvot or not? When it's hard, when you're not married, when you don't have children, when business is not booming, when you cannot find an apartment, when you don't have a job, when your friends drive you crazy, all kinds of problems when you're sick. Will you stick to my commandments and follow it when it's hard or not? And what comes right after that? That I should reward you in your end. והטיבך באחריתך. When you die, the reward will begin. Not in this world. Everything you have in this world is not because you're religious. You drive Lexus, your wicked neighbor also have Lexus. You have wife and children, your wicked neighbor also have wife and children. Sometimes the wicked people have much more money than the righteous people. Sometimes it's the other way around. But you see in this world, it's very difficult to see justice. People that break Shabbat, it looks like their business make millions on Shabbat. Shabbat is a very busy day. He has a restaurant in Manhattan. It opens on Shabbat. He goes there. He works. $20,000 profit by the end of the day. Imagine if I have to close on Shabbat. I'm going to lose $80,000 a month. Rabbi, come on. You really expect me to close the business? All these questions and answers, it's all in the Torah. The Torah told us the rules. I feed everyone. Everything you have is from me. Nothing is from you. And the Torah also say education doesn't bring parnasa. It's written clearly. Lo lachachamim lechem. If you're smart, it doesn't mean you'll be rich. I know a lot of people with very great degrees, unemployed for 3 years. Cannot find a job. I know some Bukharians who came a few years ago from Uzbekistan, driving a taxi or barbers, making more money than people have the best degrees from the best universities. I know one dentist, he comes to me, he said to me, I killed my life in college and then I learned how to be a dentist. I work crazy hours, I make 90,000 a year. After taxes, I'm left with 50. I cannot send my kids to yeshiva. My cousin, he doesn't know alphabet. You have to see what the dumb guy is. He drive a limo. He make $400-500 a day cash. More than me. So where is the logic, he said to me. How can it be? I'm educated and I don't make money. And my cousin doesn't know anything and look how much he makes. I showed him in the Torah. The Torah say, I decide how much every person make. If I want you to make a lot of money, I direct you where I want you. In a good real estate place, in a good hospital. I know a friend of mine in a hospital. He makes 5 times more than all the other doctors in a hospital. And he is not the best doctor in a hospital. He himself admitted to me. So I asked him, how do you make 5 times more than the other doctors when you yourself said that they are better than you? He said, it's all depend on the billing, the way I do my billing. I said, so why they don't do the same? He said, because they don't know. Such a small detail. He makes 5 times more than them. You know, when it comes to doctor, 5 times more, we're talking over $1 million more a year. Just because he does the billing different. Did you ever hear such thing? So when Hashem wants that one doctor will make $1.5 million a year and the other one will make 300,000, even if he's better doctor, that's what's going to happen. Or you can make $1 million, but God forbid you have an ugly divorce and you lost $7 million in an ugly divorce. And also can happen. Or God forbid surgeries and heart attack and cancer, which you couldn't work for 2 years and you wasted all your life savings. So conclusion, Rabotai, before I give you time for questions. Everyone who is not religious, it's not because he's an evil person. And it's not because he's stupid. And it's not because he hates God. And it's not because he doesn't want his future to be good. All of this, what I say, it's incorrect. There is only one reason why most of the Jewish people in the world are not religious. And the answer is, they are 100% ignorant in Judaism. They have no idea what it is. Nothing. They never read the Torah. They don't understand there's life after death. They don't understand that life after death was already proven scientifically. I have a DVD here, Life After Death, proving people that died and came back to life. People that remember their previous life in reincarnation. Babies that speaks in languages they never heard. Like one in Israel was on television. 2 years old, Arab kid. Speaking British English from 1900, from London. Who are you? My name is such and such. Where do you live? In London. Oh my dear, He said to the woman there. And the family, all Arabs, do not know even how to say thank you in English. This baby never heard a word in English. And he speak. You can see it, it's on the internet. And you know how this show came on the internet? Baruch Hashem, thanks to me. You know how? What's the connection? The person that put it on the internet is the biggest infidel in Israel. Nobody hates Torah more than him. He has a talk show in Israel. His name is Amnon Levy. 35 years, he bashed the religion. Fights against rabbi, against religious people. Every one of his shows is against the religion. Nothing else. 35 years against the religion. One day, my assistant in Israel get a call that he wants to interview me in his show on prime time. On his show. I said, okay, tell him okay. Everybody say, you're crazy. This guy, even whatever you say, is going to cut. He's going to change everything. That's what they do on television. I said, don't worry. We will prepare for him a nice surprise. We went to his studio. He put all the equipment on me. 1.5 hours interview. But I put my guy with this camera on the side to film the entire interview. Because I know they're going to cut and change everything. They modify everything. In the middle of the interview, 15, 20 minutes, he saw my guy standing there. So what's this? You don't trust me? I said, no, it's not about trusting you. I want it for my own record. He started to think if it's good for him that we're filming the whole interview, because he already has a plan to cut 99% and to present it the way he wants. Just when he was thinking, I started to answer him one of his questions. And I confused him, and he forgot about it. And we recorded the whole interview. We waited. Once he put his show on the air, of course, he cut 99% of what I say. The next day, we put it on YouTube. We had 5 times more views than him. Do you know how many Israelis wrote in the comments, finally I got the answers to all the questions I had about religion and life. I'm becoming religious. You had over there hundreds of comments. It never happened. Not one comment was for him. Even the most anti-religion people, they say, Amnon, I hate religion and I hate rabbi, but I have to admit the rabbi crushed you to pieces. The name of his show is Panim Amitiot. People say, change the name of your show to Panim Shikriot. Because when they saw what he presented on the show and what we put on YouTube, totally different thing. But I gave him a few of my CDs. Out of curiosity, I gave him this CD, Life After Death. Told him, listen to this. You really believe there's life after death? I said, I don't believe, I know for sure. I know there's life after death. If you see the proofs over there, you will know there's reincarnation and we're not here for the first time. So I gave him that DVD. He watched that DVD. And what do you think happened a few months later? He found out there's an Arab kid in the north of Israel who speaks British. Right away he went to film that kid. And he brought all the people from the village. And then he said, there is no doubt this baby is reincarnation of someone from England from 100 years ago. So when he came to film me in my lectures in Israel, the lectures in Israel is a different story because every lecture you have between 500 to 1,000 people in very big places. So he came and he saw so many people and he filmed everyone. And then we went to another lecture, another 700 people, almost 2,000 people a night. He couldn't believe. So he said to me, I see that business is booming. I say to him, Bezrat Hashem, in 2 years you will replace me here. And all the people over there say, Amen. You had to see his body, how he got nervous. But guess what happened? Few days after the interview, he went to a grave of the tzaddik from Yavniel. He read Tehillim with kippah on his head. We took a picture of him and put it on Facebook. The biggest Torah hater in the history of Israel with a kippah and Tehillim by a grave of a tzaddik reading Tehillim. Don't be too happy because it's still not Shomer Mitzvot. And he still makes shows against the religious people because he makes money out of it. Money. But at least I showed him the truth. By the way, in the middle of the interview, I told him, now I saw a breaking point by you. I said to him, I saw a breaking point by you. And he said, you're right. How did you know? I said, from your body language. That part he put on the show. Interesting. That part he should have hid the most. He actually put it on the show. That he admit that after the interview, he got scared that his end will be horrible because he realized it's true. Now, we don't want to become religious because we're afraid of the punishment. If there's no other way, it's also good. Because everything else in our life we do because we're afraid of the outcome. We go to doctors because we're afraid to die. Or because we're afraid to suffer. We send our children to college and pay fortune, those who does it, because we're afraid that they're going to be bombs on the street. We take medications and vitamin, even though it costs a lot of money, because we're afraid to die young. We pay taxes because we're afraid to go to jail. We drive slow on the highway because we're afraid to get tickets. We do a lot of things in our life. Everything we do, we always have the fear in our mind. Whether it's in our conscious, whether it's in our subconscious. Every transaction of our life is mixed with fear. From the minute you are a baby until the minute you leave the world, everything you do is involved with fear. When you drive, when you talk, when you do business with people, when you give a check, when you charge your credit card, everything you do is involved with fear. Only when it comes to religion, fear is illegal. Did you ever think about it? Why, Rabbi, why are you scaring me? Why are you telling me because I'm not Shomer Shabbat, I have no share to the world to come? I don't want to become religious from fear. Well, if that's the only way, of course you want to be out of fear. Because what's better? What's the alternative? Not to be. And I want to conclude. Last thing for tonight, with your permission, is in the Torah you have the answers to everything. If you won't get involved with learning and start coming to synagogue on Shabbat and start to keep the mitzvot, you will never make any progress. Any progress. I suggest that the first step tonight is first grab my CDs, watch my film Torah and Science first. It's a whole Jewish seminar. It has many, many proofs. After watching it, it was translated to 9 languages. 9 languages. Even Goyim, watch it, that's it. Right, or Rabbi, help me to convert. I'm begging you. I'll leave everything. Just help us to convert. Baruch Hashem convert a lot of Goyim that were serious. Watch this film. After that, you will never have a doubt. Now, after you know there is a God, and He created the world, and He created us, and He gave us the Torah, and every second in life is a test, and if we listen to Him and follow the instruction, it's only for our own good. We're not doing it for anyone else. For our own good and for our children's good. Why in the world will go against His will? Because it's against us. It's written in the Torah, if you listen to me, I will reward you and your children for eternity. It's a clear verse in the Torah. Leman Yetav lecha ulevanecha ad olam. Who knows what it means ad olam? What does it mean ad olam? Forever and ever. I will reward you forever and ever. And the way God made it is everything has either a reward or, God forbid, a punishment. Even if we make mistakes, we can still erase them. Yom Kippur, charity, praying, doing tshuva. There are ways to get rid of the problems. But if we don't care and we live like goyim and we eat whatever we see and we live with our wives without mikveh, without taharat mishpacha, without modesty, and the children go to public school and they grow up like goyim and they have no connection to God and to the Torah, without realizing it, we are criminals against the creator of the world, that He is the one who gives us oxygen. He gives us oxygen, we use it against Him. He gives us money, we use it against Him. He gives us cars, we use it against Him. He gives us health, we use it against Him. Come on. How does a person can live 70, 80 years of his life, 70 or 80 years of his life, every second of his life rebel against the one that feed him? Can you cut the hand that feed you? If somebody feed you, you're in jail, and you starving, and every day someone come and give you food and water. Imagine you bite it and you want to cut his hand. What does it tell about you as a human being? That you are an ungrateful human being. The reason people do it, again, not because they're evil, because they don't have any idea how it works. That's why we made these CDs. What do you think this CD is for? The CDs will educate you how many mistakes you do every week in your life. And the problem with these mistakes, Rabotai, that mistakes have consequences. You cannot run away from the reality. And if you ignore it, one day you wake up and it will be too late. And Bezrat Hashem, I hope everyone here will grab the CDs. You can download my app for free, Divine Information 2.0. You have all the lectures there in Hebrew, in English, all uploaded automatically every day. Any questions before we finish? Yes.
Can you please recommend if a person starts to become religious, but relatives are not, friends are not, he's peer pressure. What would you recommend for such a person to overcome pressure?
First of all, when a family puts pressure on a person not to be religious, the way to overcome such pressure is to know who stands on the other side. So I give you an example. Sometimes the police come to a person and they say to him, if you don't give us this mafia guy that you work for, we're going to put you in jail for 20 years. And he doesn't give the name. And you ask him why? Why would you like to see 20 years in prison not giving the name for this mafia guy? So the answer is, if I'll give you his name, he will kill me. So what's better? To be in jail and watch television and come out after 12 years, or to be dead, me and my children? So you have to compare what stands on both sides. What's more important, your cousins or your creator? Your friends or your creator? Your neighbors or your creator? Your parents or your creator? Your children or your creator? Your wife or your creator? The answer is always, the Torah says, that God comes in front of everyone, in front of your parents. It says, Kabed et avicha ve'et imecha, respect your father and mother very much, but I am God. If they ever tell you to do something against me, you don't have to respect them in this matter. You don't have to listen to them. If your children try to convince you to be a criminal against Hashem, you don't have to listen to them. If your wife will do such thing, you're not allowed to listen to her. If the husband will do such thing, you're not allowed to listen to her. Why? Because all the laws of respecting our relatives and friends are subject to, as long as it does not go against God. Once it goes against God, disrespect to the parents becomes disrespect. And I say that to many people, if you listen to your father in this matter, that he tells you to eat not kosher, that shows that you hate your father. Because if you really love your father, you wouldn't want to listen to him eating pork, because Hashem will give him a very big punishment for making you eat pork. So if you love your father, you want him to be punished, or you want him not to be punished? You don't want him to be punished, so why you listen to him? If your father say, come smoke drugs, you listen to him? If your father say, kill my enemy, he is competition in my business, here is the gun, go kill him, so you listen to him? There is a limit to how much we can do and how stupid we can be. We have to remember who we're dealing with here. Once we deal with Hashem, doesn't matter what people say. If you live by what people say, these people will not be in your judgment day to protect you. You have to remember this. You will be alone, and you will have to deal with the consequences of your action. And you won't be able to say, my neighbor convinced me, my wife convinced me, my brother convinced me, my parents convinced me, my children convinced me. That's not going to be a claim. You understand? You cannot say to the judge in downtown Manhattan, what are you going to say to the judge? My wife convinced me to be a drug dealer because she wanted a Lexus. The judge is going to say, it's your problem. Now you're going to pay the price for listening to your wife. You understand? That's simple common sense. I'm sure I'm not telling you anything new. All I wanted is to make sure that everybody here understands there is a God. The Torah is 100% from him, not from rabbis, not like some people think they made it up. It's 100% divine. There is life after life, and there is reward and punishment for everything we do in our life. There's no such thing, parv. You either do good thing or bad thing. There's no in between. In the Torah, there is a will, but it's not free. Because the Torah says, if you listen to me, you'll get good. If you don't listen to me, I will punish you severely. It means that the will is not free. Because free will is, if you listen to me, I'll reward you. If you don't listen to me, no hard feelings. So you don't get the reward, but there's no punishment. There's no such thing in the Torah. The Torah, you either get a reward or you get a punishment. There's no in between. And let's be smart, like they say in America, you can beat him, join him. After that, you would love him also, don't worry. More questions? Yeah?
You said that after this afterlife, right?
Yeah.
Someone asks you, so after 1 year goes for eternally to an afterlife, how does it recreate?
Some people needs to come back to the world to be reincarnated and they get another chance. If a person is very righteous, he goes to heaven and he doesn't need to be reincarnated. If the person is partially righteous, meaning he did a lot of good things, but there's still a lot of things he did not fix. He comes back as a baby, the soul is being put in a new body that of a baby that is born, and he gets another round, meaning another test. Just like when you want to be a doctor. You went to the exam, and after a while, you're a doctor? Baruch Hashem. So you wanna pass and become a doctor. If you fail or your marks are not good enough to get into a good hospital, you say, I want to take the exam again. Maybe in a second time, instead of 70, I'll get 95. That will change my entire future. The same thing over here. If a person got not such a great mark, it's sometimes worth it for him to come back in Gilgul, in reincarnation, this time to fix things. Because even if you did a lot of good things, it has to be some of the things you didn't keep. You have to come back to fix them. For instance, if someone steals, he must come back to return what he stole. You understand? Some people do not come back in reincarnation. They go to hell, Gehenom. There are 7 different places of hell, which is cleaning the soul with much pain, a lot of pain over there. But once the soul is being cleaned, from there the soul moves to heaven if he has a lot of mitzvot. If he doesn't have mitzvot, then he's sent back to the world. But reincarnation is not only in people. Reincarnation can be in Down syndrome children, can be in autistic kids, can be in raw material, can be in animals, and can be in plants. Reincarnation. Yeah, human soul is being reincarnated in a wall, reincarnated in water, reincarnated in an apple, reincarnated in a mosquito, reincarnated in dogs, in oxes. In Shara Gilgulim of the Ari Kadosh, he explained all the reincarnations for what sins a person come back as what animal. It's unbelievable. And it all makes so much sense why in this kind of animal and not this kind, and this kind of bird and not that kind of bird. There's a lot of secrets in it and it's very, very interesting, but we don't have time to get into it. More questions? Thank you very much. Mazal Tov. Please take CDs.